Patty Christensen, hand CRPS lady. It's been a minute since I've done a book review. And I just do audibles like when I'm out walking and stuff. And my latest kick, it's biographies, people whose lives are very, very, very different from mine, because I just find the whole thing fascinating. And I just finished the craziest book, and it's called A Banker's Journey. It's about this guy named, I think, Edmund Safra. And it is wild. It starts off he's a kid, like 15-ish, I think. I mean, just like a kid. And his father, they lived in somewhere Middle Easty that Jewish people can't live now. So somewhere over there, right? But this is way back. This is like just after World War II. And so the dad says, well, Edmund, I'm going to give you a little suitcase and I'm going to send you over to Italy to start a bank. Yeah. Does he speak Italian? No. Does he know one in Italy? No. Does he go do it? Yes. It is insane, the thought. I mean, think of like 15-year-olds now. You're lucky if they can pick their own nose. I mean, it was crazy that he went and did that. And then I'm listening, and next thing I know, he's over in the Far East, kind of Japan, Singapore, so over there starting a bank. And then the next thing it talks about, he's actually down in Brazil. And it says, oh, by the way, at this point, I think he's like mid-20s, early 20s, out of control. This guy has banks in 3 completely different parts of the world. And had he had his 30th birthday yet? I don't know. So it was so crazy. I would have no interest in having to be in different places that just sounds like too much travel. It'd be way too hard on my neck. And then, I mean, I like numbers, but I don't know if I'd want to always be in banking. But it was kind of funny because, so he's from back there, right? He is not a U.S. person at all. And he decides, hey, I want to start a bank in the U.S. So he comes up, and the only place he knows is New York. So he kind of lands in New York to start a bank. But New York was being too difficult, but he saw these other banks, and that's when he learned about federal charters. So he hops, skips, and jumps down to D.C. to start a bank. So he wants a federal charter, so he doesn't have to deal with, New York crooked politicians. And so they said, what do you want the name of the bank to be? And he said, Republic Bank of New York. And somebody later said, how did you come up with that name? And he said, I wanted the most American sounding name ever. And so that was funny because I've actually had dealings with that bank. So I was like, this is a small world, right? I'd actually heard of that bank. Anyway, and then time goes on. Everything is so intense in the beginning that I've lost track of how old he is, because in my mind by this point he should be 652. Anyway, he decides to sell to American Express. But he was old school handshake. You didn't get a loan from him unless he saw you face to face. One of those old school guys, and he sells to Amex and shows up, and they've like stuck him in a closet with no windows. I mean, they were just nasty to him, and the whole thing was a mess. So he left there. But apparently there was some bad blood, because no lie, at some point down the road, all of a sudden, in weird places throughout the world are these horrible statements about this guy, right? And one thing about him is he's got a lot of integrity, and his reputation is everything. He's one of those kind of guys. And he can't figure out what's going on because they're repeating the exact same thing, but in opposite parts of the world. What is going on? Hires a private investigator. They find out who the dude is. That they literally track his plane trips to these different places, meeting with these people to start these bad rumors. Come to find out, American Express paid him to do it. I guess there was bad blood. American Express, they played dirty. I did not know this. They admitted it. So, so we can say they did because they literally admitted to doing it. So that was wild. And then he's cruising along, but he's got Parkinson's. He's got, one of those degenerative diseases, and he has no children. And in his culture, you always left your businesses to the oldest son, though in his case, he wasn't the oldest son. I think he was the second oldest son. But anyway, it has to be your child. It has to be a son, no daughters. We don't allow that, apparently, in that culture, right? Well, he had no kids at all. So then who was going to take over? He tried to get his brother to take over, but his brother kind of had his own thing going because this Edmund guy had set up his whole family in businesses, so they didn't, anyway, so they were done. Anyway, so he's trying to figure all that out. And then so finally he decides he's going to sell to HSBC, which I've gotten loans through them, I think when I bought a boat or something. So I'd actually heard of that, but I didn't know it stood for like Hong Kong, Singapore banking, or something HS, Hong Kong and like, I don't know. Anyway, over there, right? But he wanted to sell to them because, they were really known for having high integrity. And after his mess with Amex, he wanted something a little classier. So he's working on that. Now, I'm going to give a spoiler alert. So if you don't want to know, well, it's all on the internet anyway, kind of how this story ends. It's wild. But if you're like, nah, Patty, just tell me. Ain't nobody got time for all these books. So he and his wife are in, I don't know, because, they got houses all over the place, right? I don't know, Switzerland, wherever the heck they were. And he's got health issues because of this Parkinson's, so he's got kind of a full-time caregiver guy there. Full-time caregiver guy's got a screw loose and comes up with the great idea that what he was going to do was he was going to catch the place on fire, stab himself so it looks like he gets attacked, and then rescue them. So he could be like the hero. Edmund Soffer would have given him lots of money. That's what this idiot was thinking, right? So he starts the fire, he stabs himself, fire gets out of control. He can't. So, no lie, Edmund and his wife ended up passing away from smoke inhalation in their own home by the crazy guy. P.S. I looked that guy's name up. He's bad. He's I think over here in the clink in the U.S. now, because one time wasn't a charm for him. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, craziest story ever. Like, could our lives be more diametrically opposed? I don't think so. But and it was weird because I'd heard of these banks. I'd never heard of Edmund Safra. Of course, why he really, he wasn't in the U.S. He was everywhere else. And I had never heard of him because I don't know anybody, let's face it. Anyway, if you want just kind of a crazy one, it's Banker's Journey. It's about Edmund Safra. Now, he is Jewish and he was very observant, so they'll use some terms in there, but the author's pretty good about explaining it. But it doesn't take away from the madness of the banking world and Amex stalkers and, people who literally burn your house down for attention. Anyway, wild times. I give that one a thumbs up.